Welcome back to another episode of Leaving a Rich Legacy. As you all know, if you've been following my podcast, this is truly a love letter to my younger self. There's so many topics that I just wish I would have talked about as a kid, a teenager, my early 20s, and even my early 30s. And this is an opportunity to have those conversations, whatever self love, healing, business, ownership, homes, purchasing homes, finances, whatever it is that we really don't tackle in the Black and Brown community, this podcast is an opportunity to do that. So I am so excited to have my guest here today, Lisa Mickles, which I'm laughing because Lisa's hilarious. So I know we're about to cut up.
Yeah.
But Lisa, thank you for accepting my invite to be a guest on my podcast. I'm so excited.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to kiki and cut up.
And I'm just going to turn it over to you. So I know her as Lisa Smilez, and she is always smiling. But who is Lisa? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh yes. Now, Coach Jessica came up here and said my whole government. But yeah, I go by Lisa Smiles, and I'm just your girl next door. I'm a child of God. I am a hairstylist currently, and I'm also a business owner. I make body butters and coming out with my own hair care line. I'm an auntie. I'm a sister. I'm your friend in your head on YouTube. So that's just a little bit of who I am.
So I have to recognize that you were able to share all of the things that, who you are isn't just you being a business owner and a YouTuber, and you are very consistent. You're probably one of the most consistent I know. But there's so many things that make up who we are. And I love when people can acknowledge that, like, you're just so much more a child of God, but there's more to you than just being a business owner. So I love that. So Lisa,
Yeah.
you are very open and transparent
I tell my
about
business.
the journey. You say you tell your business, but you are very just open about your journey to self-love and healing. So think back to a few years ago, right? How did you get to where you are today?
A few years ago, let me tell you, I have came a very, very long way. When you say 4 years ago, we're talking about 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Does it really matter?
A few years ago. So several years ago, you want to roll it back. But like when you think back and you say,
Yeah.
whew, I came a long way. How did you get here?
Yeah, from 10 years ago, how did I get here? I was in like a very like toxic relationship with an ex, and honestly, I didn't love myself. I didn't know who I was as a person. I just got ran through the ringer, as they would say. And then based on just, I think honestly, like my insecurities growing up, I grew up with eczema. So I had very, very dry and scaly skin. I got picked on a lot. I'm also a twin. So I also dealt with a lot of comparison, comparing my twin skin to mine, saying, oh, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not worthy. And so all that childhood stuff that happened linger into my young adulthood when not, just loving who I am as a person, right? And knowing whose I am. So I got into like this very toxic relationship, and it was just very draining. Like we went through a whole lot. And I think honestly, what was the kicker with that relationship and ending it was I got that relationship just to live my business. I had went to my 10-year high school reunion, right? And at the time, my ex, he was in prison. Okay, we had dated on and off, drug dealer, all kind of crazy stuff. So he was actually in prison for messing with an underage female. Yeah, that was a whole thing. So he was in prison for that. And so I remember I had went to my high school 10-year reunion, and I didn't really get noticed by guys like that, but I was, starting to lose weight and stuff. So I'm at this reunion, and one of the guys was like, kind of like checking your girl out. Okay. pulling up on it. So, no, he was telling me how good I look, and not that we should seek validation from men, but being someone like coming from the background I came from, and just my ex put me down so much, it was like kind of different because we love to get compliments. So he was like really affirming me and stuff. And then also with being in that relationship with my ex while he was in prison, like he was still putting me down. I'm like, Playboy, like how you still putting me down and you behind bars? Like you can't even do nothing for me. But that's what we do when we don't love ourselves. We just put up with everything. So I the light bulb came on and I was like, this man all the way in prison. First of all, you done cheat on me with underage girl. This is your second time getting locked up for some kind of drug stuff. Then I go home to this reunion and this guy is just like affirming me. And I'm like, I deserve better. Like, I don't have to put up with this. So that kind of like ushered me out into that relationship. And after that relationship, it was just a lot of, let's just be honest, look, thotting and trotting that went on. But I had went through that stage, but finally, you know, I've been single for about almost probably going on 3 or 4 years now. And so my last relationship that I had, and I call myself being, what do you call it? Abstinent, child. That's a whole nother story. We can talk about that if you want to. But I think that when I end up sleeping with him, right? And he was a church boy, but you gotta know, you gotta have a relationship for yourself. And so me coming out that relationship, and I think with my grandmother passing away, I said, I gotta get it together. Like, I gotta love myself. Like, I have to do better. Like, I don't have to keep putting up with the same old, same old. So that led into me getting into therapy, and therapy, which is perfect because I found a therapist like right before the pandemic. So we did Zoom or the teletherapy all through the pandemic. And then I started to get real serious about my relationship with Christ. And so that's really, that was a long answer, but that's how I got to the person I am today. Okay.
So I want to ask you a question about your relationship. About 10 years ago, you mentioned how like he would talk down to you even from, being locked up. And I feel like when that happens, there's also insecurities and a lack of confidence in that individual, and they try to chip away from, our own confidence, and it can tear you down, right? If you're not aware of it. So how did you like build yourself back up after being in a situation on and off for that many years where somebody is like intentionally trying to tear you down?
Right. That's a good question. I would say it took some time. It wasn't like I woke up the next day and it was like snap, but it was just like little things over time. Like I started to notice, like, I just like let myself go. Like doing my hair, whether it's getting my nails done or whatever. So I just took it like step by step by like just pouring into myself. And it was actually kind of shocking. Like when I actually started doing stuff for myself, I was like, this is actually nice. Like I can treat myself nice. Like I deserve to have to be, treated like this. So it really just took time for me to like love on myself. And then also with the people who I was hanging around, that kind of helped too, because it was like, girl, you don't have to put up with this, or hey, we're doing this. So that circle of friends and the people who you talk to on a regular basis, that also helps with your healing and just getting to loving yourself and just knowing that you don't have to put up with that. Like I'm allowing this man from behind bars to, talk to me that way. And I'm like, and you're right, he was insecure. And I was too. So what they say, birds of the same feather flock together. So really when we're in those relationships, and I think Coach Sheena said something about this, like he was my greatest teacher, because when we look in the mirror, like when we're with somebody and it's just, what I'm trying to say, they're just showing us like the same person who we are. So it was kind of like looking at myself in the mirror like, oh, I'm insecure too. So I need to get that together.
That's that's a powerful way to look at that. I do think sometimes in relationships, one, I think it's important to heal after every relationship that doesn't work out. But there is an opportunity to do some self-reflection and like own some of it. And as you're looking, like you may be able to see some similarities. Did you find that like you had a pattern of dating men like him, or it was that just the longest span of maybe an unhealthy relationship?
Oh, I definitely had a pattern. Oh, I definitely had a pattern because as soon as I hopped off of one, I was hopping on another one. You hear me? I was hopping on, okay, let me, on dandelions. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I can say that. But sorry, Coach Jessica, but I'm just saying, like, because I didn't heal, because I didn't like work on me, like I said about that 10-year relationship, I went into another situationship. I wouldn't call it a relationship, but the guy who kind of affirmed me from a high school reunion, I went to him and basically being a side chick, we just go ahead and just be honest, and stop messing with him and talking to somebody else. So it was really like an insecurity in me feeling like I can't be alone. So me, I was dating this guy for 10 years, so I'm used to being with somebody all the time, but I was afraid of being alone. So I was really attracting the same guy, but they just in a different body. So
Mm.
it's so important that we really do the work, and it's okay to be alone. And I think a part of that comes from me being a twin. When I graduated from high school, me and my twin didn't go to the same college. She stayed back home and went to a community college, and I was 2 hours away. So it was kind of like that attachment, feeling like I always need to be with somebody. So it was just like, yeah, I was attracting the same person. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I said, I'm going to intentionally be single, because a lot of times we say we single, but we always be talking to somebody. You know how that go. Like you always got somebody you talking to or who you sleeping with. But I was like, no, I'm actually going to intentionally be single and work on Lisa for once. Like really put Lisa first. So yeah.
Good. And I see that you are doing solo dates and
Yeah.
girls trips, so you are enjoying your single season. Um, is there anything that you did specifically to kind of tackle the fact that you now know that you had a pattern of men that you were dating? So how did you address that?
Therapy. Yes, therapy really opened up my eyes to like the pattern what I was doing. And then also just like dating myself and letting me know, affirm myself, like it's okay to be like alone. It's okay, like you don't always have to have somebody. And because you don't have nobody, don't mean that you're not enough, don't mean that you're not loved, but it's okay to be alone. So that's why I started pouring more into myself. Like, I don't have to wait for a guy to take me out on a date. I don't have to wait till I get with somebody to live my life. Like I can live my life now. So yes, taking myself on solo dates. Also solo trips. And I have another one coming up. I'm kind of nervous about it, but I'm gonna try to do it. I'm stretching myself. But yeah, just taking myself on solo trips, dates, and just hanging out with my girlfriends, because a lot of times we get into these relationships and let's just be honest, we neglect our girlfriends. So I do feel like it should be a healthy balance once you get into a relationship, but just still now like going out with my girlfriends, doing staycations, doing vacations. So yeah.
So you mentioned like it's stretching you. And I do think in our single season, it can stretch us. And I don't remember recall exactly, verbatim what TD Jake says, but it's like when we're single, it's like we stop living. So what about this trip do you feel like is stretching you?
Oh, by the solo trip I have coming up, because it's going to be my first out the country trip by myself. And so that's really, really stretching me because I'm used to like flying to like different states, but to go out the country by myself, and I hope my mama don't see this because she's gonna have she gonna shut me down. So I don't even want to tell her because she's gonna be like, you ain't going, and she ain't about to stress me out. But I think that's the part that's stretching me to know that I can do this. Like I don't have to wait till I'm married or till I have a man to do this. Not saying that I don't need a man, not saying I don't want a man, but also I'm treating myself how I want my husband to treat me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not waiting until I get a husband or a man to go out the country, which I've been out the country before, but I'm just saying like to take myself out on trips. I'm not looking for you to do that because I done did it. It's gonna be nice when we do it together, but I think just doing things by yourself and pointing to yourself, it's so important while you're single. Because I'm telling you, when y'all get with a musky man, I know when I get with me a musky man, I'm gonna appreciate these solo dates right now. Because my sister, she said all the time, she was like, girl, must be nice. You ain't got no kids over there. Listen how quiet your house is. Listen how quiet it is. So I just think it's very important that during our single season that we really stretch ourselves. So, you know, when that husband do come, if you desire marriage or a mate, that we have no regrets. Like we did what we wanted to do in our single season.
Yes. And I'm happy that you are traveling by yourself. I understand the safety reasons, right? And that's our parents are gonna be like, where you gonna be? I need to know this, I need to know that. But it is, like you said, creating experiences where you don't feel like you're waiting for someone else, whether that be a man or a friend, to live your life and enjoy it. So that is super exciting. Yes. So you got your trips planned, you're doing your solo thing, you're in your single season. Has there been moments where you felt like you wanted someone, or like you just like, maybe I feel like I want that companionship from someone?
That's a really good question. Now, the old me, like maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, like I used to be so lonely, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I was thirsty. Okay, still thirsty because I was so used to being with somebody. And I think at that point I was probably single for like a year or two. So I like really, really still wanted to be with somebody, but just trying to fight through it. Now it's kind of scary in a way because I enjoy being single. Like I'm enjoying this time by myself, but I do desire a husband. I do desire to be married, but it's not to the point where I think before I idolize it so much. And that's I think that's a big thing. Like it's okay to want that husband and stuff, but sometimes we can like idolize that. And so I think now the difference is I do want it, but it's not so high up that I'm just like forgetting myself. Like that's the only thing I'm focused on. Like I used to go places and I'm like, oh, I hope somebody see you. You know, just press. Like, girl, stop being so pressed. So I think now when I go out and I do things, like if I meet somebody, I talk to somebody, cool, but I'm not so as pressed. So I just wanted to, flow naturally, how the women who be free and stuff. I just want to be free and just, if my husband see me, he gonna pull up on me. I don't have to force nothing. So yeah.
So you made a really good point. Yes, you have a great personality. Um, but you made a really good point about going out. And I've had many people say, like, don't you feel silly going out by yourself? Or don't you feel silly sitting at the table by yourself? And I used to just go like get my own table, but now I'll go to the bar to at least be able to interact with others. Some
Right.
be more talkative than others, but it is really about, being single doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out to try to find someone, but it's going out to experience being with yourself, and then you're putting yourself in a position where you
Yeah.
can meet someone, right? Because
Yeah.
what the Instagram post or meme or something say, they're not gonna come to the house. So if
No.
you are interested, it's okay to go out, but like just enjoy the moment. Don't be so pressed to be like, who's looking, who's checking, somebody talking to me. If no one talks to me at all, I'm like, okay, cool. The bartenders usually, start a conversation, but you hit it the nail on the head. Like, enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment. And single season will spoil you a little too much. You said it's kind of scary.
It is kind of scary because it's like I'm enjoying this, and I'd be like, and I'd be sitting thinking like, now what if a musky man was? Now I used to stay with my ex, like we used to shack, and so for like a while, and so I'm used to living with the man for like a long time. So I think now it's kind of like, oh, I ain't got nobody. Like this is like kind of nice. I don't have to worry about no dirty draws. Like this is kind of nice, but also I do desire a husband, but it's not like a lonely type of like desperate, like, oh my gosh, like I came a long way with that because I used to be over here crying. You hear me? Crying because I ain't got nobody. Like, girl, get your life together.
You feel now that like, so you've been focusing on self-love and healing. And what I hear is like self-worth, your value. And although you desire someone, it's more of a mentality too. Like, I'm not gonna settle, right? Because I've done all this work, and the things that maybe you accepted in the past, and let me speak for myself, the things that I've maybe tolerated in the past, I know that like I won't tolerate it at all now because I can acknowledge like I settled in some areas for sure. And I deserve better. So until I receive that or meet that, then I'm okay with being single.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm also realizing that when your standards are high, it might take some time. And I'm okay with that. Because when my standards was low, I was getting them left and right. Like me being single right now is a choice. Because if I wanted a man, I can go right out here, pull on some hoochie mama shorts and get me a man. Okay. I don't even have to do that. I can just be desperate. And I ain't talking about nobody, but I can go on that online dating, and I'm done with that line now. But I can get on there and get me somebody. But right now, I did the online date and I did all that. And it's like, I done raised the bar. So I'm not about to settle. Like, that's not an option. Like, I love myself enough not to just settle just so I can say I have somebody, just so I can say, when I go Thanksgiving dinner, I don't got auntie looking at me like, okay, you auntie, you can keep looking, but I'm not settling. Okay. All right. I'm not settling. So they can say what they want to say. And I want to bring this up too. A lot of times, especially me, I'm 35, right? A lot of time, and I used to judge when I was younger, like, wow, she's over 30 and she's not married. She don't have no kids. Oh, she must be gay. That's the next thing that comes. It's just that we have to change the narrative. Just because like we're successful and we have standards, that don't mean that we don't want those things. And that doesn't mean that we're looking at the opposite sex. It's just that now people just want somebody just to have somebody, but it's the fact that we have standards that we're just not going to settle. And some people might think that's unrealistic, but I'm a Christian and ain't nothing too hard from God. So he can do it for us. Okay. He can do it for us. All right.
And you said too, like having the standards, and it seemed like, well, to some people, it's like, what's going on? And your standards. But really, I think more people should be invested in that, right? Doing the work. And as you do the work and you address the childhood traumatic experience, like, right, yours was eczema, and like you experienced bullying, somebody might say, oh, that's not trauma. That is traumatic for a child. And you don't know how it affects you as you grow up and become an adult. I've talked about that. My parents' divorce was a huge part of just my childhood trauma. And I think if more men and women really spent the time to like work on themselves, they wouldn't settle, and you can settle with someone who's a great person, but not the right person for you.
Yeah.
You really could. It's not even to say they're all just, there's something going on, there's dysfunction. Like, it could be a really good person, but that's not the person for you, but because you are desperate, because you want to be in a relationship, because you want to say you're married, you will settle for that individual just to have the title.
Yeah, and I kind of want to say something too about the settling thing. And a lot of times we deal with comparison. I know that's with me, like, oh, how did she get with somebody? And I thought she was out there, and and she could have settled. You just never know. But I remember my therapist told me a long time ago, when I was, really, really wanting a husband, like really, really bad, and just looking at what, like, how she got married and da da da. And it was like, everybody, like what you said, don't have morals or don't have standards. Like, just because they got with that person, that don't mean that they have the same morals as you. Like, they probably let down their guard and settled for that. Like, it might look good on the outside, but you don't know what that person is like giving up. Like, something that I'm not able to put up with. Like, I know I can't put up with a drug dealer again, and she probably can. And their relationship could work out fine, but that's not what I want. That's not what I'm gonna settle for. So we have to be careful. Like, even though we like see things on Instagram or on social media, we really don't know the behind the scenes, and we can't just jump to go get something just because so we can have somebody, and not take into account our standards and our morals, because what that person could put up with, you might not could put up with that. So yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned, when you mentioned comparison, I was going to bring up Instagram, and then you mentioned it. Instagram. So any social media platform, we have to realize, like, none of that is real.
No.
Excuse me, a lot of it is not real. Some of it may be, but a lot of things that you see is, people getting paid for it,
Yes.
or there is this image that they want to portray. So, there could be a huge spirit of comparison when you start looking at all these social media platforms, and things look great, but we've seen firsthand that even some relationships, you're like, those, well, people would say, because I don't call everybody relationship goals, people were like, they relationship goals. And then now we see what was going on. So you're right. And I think social media makes it it much easier to get caught up in the comparison piece, for real.
And I was gonna say something else about relationship goals. I used to do that. I used to look at other couples and like, oh, relationship goals, oh, relationship goals. And those same people who I used to look at and say relationship goals, you see they getting divorced, you see they having problems, or and I'm to this point, like, I don't want nobody else's relationship. Like, I'm happy for people. Like, I love to see people in love, but what I always think, they going through something behind closed doors like that I probably couldn't put up with. So God knows what I can handle. So I'm not going to sit here and like idolize, not even my parents, because everybody have their own drama. But I'm happy to see my parents married for so long. But still, at the end of the day, I'm happy for them, but I still want my own relationship goals and not nobody else's, because you don't know what you're asking for. Like, and like you said, everything looks good on Instagram, but that man might have drawers laying around the house all the time. His breath might stink. You know what I'm saying? He got a pretty smile, but his breath might stink, but you don't know that. And you're just looking at them online. So you just never know what people are going through behind closed doors. So that goes back to like just working on ourselves and our future mate working on themselves, and just coming together and being each other's strengths and weaknesses and just making it work.
Well, now that you've done the work, right? You've been to therapy, you're healing, your self-worth, and you're still doing the work because it's a process. It's
Yeah.
a process. When you think about like your future mate, future husband, partner, do you have any like requirements of him to have worked? Because I have an answer for this for myself, but I want to hear yours. But is there anything specifically that you're looking for regarding him putting in work on himself?
Let me go ahead and pull out my long list. I just playing. There are things I'm looking for. first of all, he got to have a relationship with Christ. Like, not just saying like you know God, but actually have a relationship with him. I think that's so important. That's the first thing. Another thing, another character, oh, you got to have integrity. That's big. And care and integrity, and just somebody who I can have fun with. Like, I love to laugh and just cut up. Just somebody who I can just play with, like just get on each other's nerves. Like, yeah, hardworking, um, committed, a family oriented man. What else? That's pretty. And you got to be easy on the eyes now. Now I know we say we shouldn't be stuck on looks, but look, Playboy, what Tony Gaston say, you can't be looks challenged. I'm sorry, you can't be looks challenged. Now I'm not saying I'm the prettiest thing out there, okay? But what I'm saying is, you got to be lookable, okay? I can't be throwing up in my mouth. So I'll say that. But I've been dating some looks challenged ones, but it's amazing what happens when you start falling for people. So I'm just saying.
This is true. So if a guy, you meet a guy and like, he has some of the traits and characteristics that you're talking about, but he's like, haven't done any self-work on himself. Like, is that a question you think you would ask him? Like, what have you done since your last relationship? Like, you know what I mean? To grow.
That's really, really good. Yeah, you got to be doing the work. Now, I know a lot of guys might not, some of them might, but might not do therapy, but at least have some kind of mentor in your life. Like, whether that's a pastor or just somebody older who you can talk to, or a coach or something. Like, I would hope that maybe he is, in communication with them, just to kind of keep his head on straight. Because if I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not doing. So if I have a therapist or a coach or a spiritual leader or whoever, I would expect that from him. So yeah, he needs to be doing the work, because I always thought like, man, God is not going to send me a man until I have it 100% together. Like, yes, I have been healing for the last 3.5 years. Do I have it all figured out? No, but I also know like I'm not going to be perfect when I meet my mate, but it's all about being a working process. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I've been single for 3 years and you haven't went to no seminars, you haven't read no books, you haven't got no coaching or no therapy. Like, it's always going to be work, because I honestly feel like once we do get into the marriages or relationships, there's going to be things that's going to come up. But that's the beautiful thing with therapy, was learning how to work through those things and cope. So yeah, he got to be doing the work.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely think that one, I feel like in the Black and Brown community, there's more of we're talking more about therapy, and we're seeing more like Black male therapists, which I love, because I think that helps, our Black men, like, okay, this might be all right, or more of a comfort level to at least start therapy. But I absolutely agree. Like, I need someone who has also done the work, that knows how to acknowledge that we have triggers.
Yeah.
And we can, because you can say something and interpretation is incorrect, and really it's a trigger that they're responding to. And then your intentions are questioned. So I definitely think the self-work piece is important. But I think after every relationship, like, we really got to take time to reflect. And I haven't always done that, so I'm not perfect. But I now know, like, it's a lot of things that I probably should have, like, let me reflect on this last relationship, so I don't take those into the new relationship. And, maybe they could have, no, they wouldn't have. But I was going to say, maybe they could have helped those relationships, but they wouldn't have. Not at all.
I was going to say this. You heard the term chew the meat and spit out the bone. So with every relationship, something I learned in therapy was like, take the good things that was in that relationship and spit out the bad part. So I feel like every relationship we've been in, whether it was good or bad, there's things we can learn from that. So like, maybe some of the good things in relationship was I don't know. He made, like, I'll say that I'll be this, that the guy I was with for 10 years. I will say one of the good things I did take from that relationship, which kind of shaped where I am today, is the dates. Like, we went on weekly dates, like, all the time. We always tried a new restaurant. So those were some of the good things I enjoyed, the dates. And then the bad parts is I spit out, okay, I'm not going to allow a man to talk to me that way. So I do feel like we always should find the good and just spit out the bad parts and know, like, okay, that was bad in that past relationship. I'm not going to bring this, I'm not going to bring that bad part to this new relationship that I'm desiring.
Is the way a guy speaks to you, is that a non-negotiable? Like if he had everything else that you mentioned, but he, I don't know if it's the tone or the comments, like would that be a deal breaker for you?
Oh yes. Oh yes. It wasn't so much his tone, like he never did like yell at me. It was just the degrading comments. Like, you trying to be slick, like you trying to be, you hear smart aleck or trying to be smart and stuff. And you used to call me like fat or this stuff like that. And so that's what I'm not gonna put up with. Like, I'm not gonna put up like, you need to talk to me like a queen, because I don't talk to you that way. So why are you degrading me and saying those things about me, and I haven't said it to you? So yeah, you gotta that talk, because when people, and it's sad that, like, and that's what we have to fight through, and I have to get in my word, like, because sometimes I used to keep replaying those things in my mind, and so that's why I would attract the same kind of guys, because I kept telling myself like the same thing he used to tell me. Oh, you never gonna be good enough for nobody else. Ain't nobody else gonna ever love you. Like, oh, you too big. You need to lose weight. Stuff like that. So it was like, as soon as I seen somebody looking at me, I'm like, oh, I better get him, because I don't know if nobody else gonna want me. So it's like, the tone is important. You can't be yelling, but also how you speak to me. Like, that's a non-negotiable.
Good, good. And that's a good point you mentioned about like how it's this perception nobody else will want you, because it basically conditions you to think like to always come back, right?
Yeah.
Always, even when you leave, like to come back because they're conditioning you to think that you won't find anybody else. And I would just say to anybody listening, men or women, like when you are with somebody, like they're not supposed to make you feel like that, even if
Mhm.
it's something like, just finding little ways to chip at you. If it feels like it's tearing you down or it doesn't make you feel good, like that should be a conversation. And then if
Yeah.
you don't see improvement from it, then like you have to identify if it's time to step away, because it's like, when you think about, I don't know the term, the name of this position, but like, like the rock chippers, when they're like carving out the rock, like they're making sculpting the rock figures or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
when you're dating somebody, it's like they're just chipping, and one small chip it eventually grows and you don't realize it. But like a relationship is not supposed to make you feel that way. Even
Mhm.
though they can have money, they can have the nice looks and all these other things, like, that's something that you really have to consider. So that's why I was asking about non-negotiable, so somebody can hear your response about that. So Lisa, so you've been very open and transparent parent about relationships in your single season. You're doing some self-care things. Love that for you. But you're also a business owner.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I am.
So you're not just a business owner, one business owner, you have multiple things going on. So
Yeah.
one, tell us about what you have going on. And I want to know for myself, how do you balance it? I need to know what's the tea. I need all let me get a notebook. I need all the information.
I still feel like I'm still trying to balance it. Yeah, so I recently made a decision, because I am a hairstylist, to adjust my time. So I kind of felt like, and I'm gonna just be honest, eventually I want to come from behind the chair. And so with me doing that, I was working so much and it was hard for me to do work on my other businesses, which is the hair care line, and I have body butters and other merchandise that I'm selling. So what I made an executive decision, I'm like, it's hurting my body. I'm doing too much standing. So I had to adjust my hours. So I will say with me adjusting my hours, it does free up more time for me to work on like my side hustles so I can build that up to replace eventually from being from behind the chair. So that does help. Some days I still struggle because my friends will call me and like I still be low key over here doing work. So I think having that community of friends, it kind of brings me back and then be like, all right, Lisa, like you've been on that computer or you've been doing something a little too long. So that kind of helped with the balance. And it does feel good. Like when I do take time to step away, whether it's a day or a weekend or something, it helps with my creativity. So yeah, I got a lot of things going on. I do have a hair care line that is dropping July 23rd, 2023. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I'm working on that. And of course, my body butters. And yeah, then I'm gonna have some merch coming out and more bonnets, do-rags, Coach Jessica.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a lot of working parts, but yeah, I enjoy it. I don't see myself going back to corporate America ever
Mm.
ever again because I did that rodeo, but I'm not talking bad about corporate America because I think it helped shape the woman I am today. I think that's why I'm like so structured and like I have systems. So I will say it does help in that aspect, but I enjoy what I do a lot.
Okay. We might have to have you back about that corporate America leap. Let us know how you did that step of faith. But one, congratulations on the hairline that will be
Okay.
launching here in about 2 months. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. But so you have the hair care line, the body butter, you're doing hair. You are very, okay. I want people to understand you are very consistent. You probably post like 2 to 3 times a day on YouTube. Is that accurate? At least twice.
Well, yeah, I will say, especially the YouTube shorts. I've been posting those twice a day lately. Yes.
Okay, so I'm telling y'all at least twice. Okay, there's something that's going to be posted for any individual, someone who's an entrepreneur or works and trying to balance it all. Like, do you have any like advice on how to like approach it?
I will say take time to step away. So what it is like have a non-negotiable day. Mine lately has been Sundays where because Sundays when I get done from church, like I just really like be wanting to relax and not think. So have that one day, that non-negotiable day that you don't do anything business related. And that helps you out so much because sometimes I feel like my creativity get blocked a little bit, but it's really a sign that I need to take a break. So that will help. Also, content batching days. So I used to have days I would go to Starbucks or Panera, and I would sit there and like plan out all my content for the week. So I wouldn't have to worry about, each day, okay, what I'm gonna post, what I'm gonna post. So that kind of helped give you some balance. Like if you can just choose maybe one day just to really, plan everything out. So you can kind of have that balance. And then also another thing is if you're a person that have a hard time with balancing stuff, go ahead and start just like how you plan your content, plan things to do stuff with your friends. So me and my friend DeCento, we plan in advance that, hey, we're going to do as a girl staycation. So it's stuff that's already on my calendar because I put all my business stuff on my calendar. But when it comes to my friends, I'm like, let's go ahead and schedule stuff. So that's an automatic break or balance where I'm like, okay, I already took it off. Like, and once I say I'm gonna do something, I'm not the type of person to come back and say no unless like it's some like I really, really can't do it. So go ahead, even with your family in advance. And another thing I do too, with me being a hairstylist, I only release my calendar 1 month at a time. Some people don't like that, but I had to realize that I have to put me first. And I remember when I used to have my calendar open this for the whole year, people used to be booking all the way to December. Like I remember one time somebody booked on my birthday and I said, oh, absolutely not. What we not gonna do is be here slaving on my birthday. So I realized that the reason why I do it once a month is it gives me time to reach out to my family and friends like, hey, what are we doing for this holiday? Or hey, what should we get planned? So that way I'm putting myself first and then my clients can book around that. And if they don't like that, they just better scratch their booty and get glad, as Tony Gaskins will say, because I'm gonna put me first.
So I very smart about the calendar. I had one hairstylist who it was always open, and I'm like, I can't get in. And because we had, history, she would, find time for me. But it's frustrating for other clients, like, you took up all the spots and all this. But I love that you like identified what is important to you and putting that in place. Even though, like you said, you left corporate America, but now that you're a business owner, you're still prioritizing yourself. Just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean that your business still runs you. And you made a very good point about scheduling stuff with your friends. And my friends would tell you, I schedule phone calls. I schedule phone calls, and we schedule to get together like 2 to 3 weeks out, sometimes 30 days out. And that's really because, to your point, I have my Google calendar on my phone, and then at work I have my Outlook, but I need to make sure like I'm giving myself a time to like relax, breathe, and I don't feel bad about scheduling phone calls. And I think at this age, we're no longer at a place where you can just pick up the phone and I'm always available.
Right.
5 years ago, 6 years ago, absolutely. But
Right.
now it's not, and I'm sure some people probably don't like that. But reality is like, unless you are my mom and my dad, I don't have a lot of people just calling my phone like that because like I'm trying to prioritize my time. And some people take that the wrong way. You shouldn't. Like people have to have certain capacity and you gotta
Yeah.
respect it.
Yeah, that's true. And especially like if like most of my friends are business owners, some of them are still juggling the two. If they have their own thing going on too, they really don't have time to just to be like, oh, we're just about to sit on the phone all day, every day. Like they got stuff to do too. So it kind of works out in all of our favor because it's kind of like, okay, we both need a break. Like when we're gonna schedule like to get together, go do something. So yeah.
Well, Lisa, let's see. If you could tell your younger self one thing, if you could have a conversation with younger Lisa, what would you tell her?
I would tell little Lisa, girl, you got the sauce now. Now I would tell her like, be confident, like love who you are. Know that Lisa, you are worthy. There is something special about you. Don't ever feel like you're not enough. Like anything you put your mind to, like you can do it. Like don't allow, people to talk to you certain type of way. Because not only did I deal with that with relationship, but even in school, like even with teachers, like don't internalize like what people are saying about you. Like remember what God says about you and know that you can do anything and like just be confident and love yourself. Like because I feel like if little Lisa would have did that, like my life would have probably looked different like from the young adulthood from what I put up with. So just love yourself and remember what God says about you.
Right? Is there anything else that we didn't get to talk about that you want to share about Lisa?
Oh yeah, it was one other thing, and I think it was about body image. Yeah, I wanted to get on that because some of the comments that were kind of made like to me in the past about making me feel like I wasn't good enough. And I'm just here to say like it doesn't matter what size you are. It's somebody out there that's going to love you for who you are. Now, I'm not just saying just totally let yourself go. No, I do feel like as long as you're making a conscious effort to be the best version of you, like I in the past, I would lose weight for this person or gain weight for that person, lose for that person, but now I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for nobody but me because I want to be healthy. I want to feel good about myself. So the thing is, like, love yourself enough to be healthy for you, whatever that means. And like, don't compare yourself just because your body doesn't look like somebody else's body. Don't mean that you're not pretty, or just because you're not skinny enough, or just because you're not thick enough, or love who you are and appreciate who you are, and just work on being the best you. And that comparison thing is so big. And that's why on Instagram, I have an assistant that helps me too, but I post and run. Like, and I know some people like, ooh, she doesn't want to see nobody doing better. Like, no, because I don't have time. And I just know a lot of times we get it on these social media apps and we start comparing our body types to other people. And a lot of times people be using filters, they be making themselves look skinny. And then you see them in person, you be like, oh, I had that happen. I seen somebody in person, I was like, oh, so you lying on this Instagram, on the book of faces. So yeah, just whatever size you are, don't allow nobody to talk to you, make you feel like you're not enough, because you are beautiful. Yeah.
That's a good one. And I can relate. I've been very open and transparent about just weight loss and weight, fluctuating over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
I think most of my years, like my young adult years, I was heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that, I don't think people said anything specifically, but I'm sure there was some spirit of comparison.
Yeah.
And to your point, when you're ready to make a change, do it for yourself, but do it for yourself and also give yourself grace. We
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of people who are working out on social media, they have a certain body, and a lot of people pay for it. Okay.
Yep.
So, unless you want to pay for those results, which there's nothing wrong with that, give yourself a little grace
Yeah.
um, to be where you want to be and love the skin that you're in. The one thing I think that this place that I'm at now is like embracing the moment. So
Yeah.
I've been smaller, and we gonna get back there. Y'all just wait. But um but I'm happy. Like I'm
Yeah.
absolutely happy. And that's why my progress is probably a lot slower than what people know. When I was working out 5 to 6 days a week, it's different, but I'm in a totally different mental, emotional, and spiritual place. And I'm going at my own pace. So
Mm,
I think that's a good reminder, because even men and women, we get in these relationships and we also have that body image that makes us stay attached to the person who you think nobody else would want you. And
yeah.
that's not true. Like, know
Mm-mm.
that you're still worthy regardless of what size you are. But if you want to make that change, then make it based on your own time. So
Right. Yeah. That's really good.
good.
Like how you said, move at your own pace, because you'll see people on Instagram, you out there trying to work out and you fall, you passing out. It's like that even goes even with your workout routine. Like even if you at the gym and you, besides about on the treadmill, don't be trying to run because somebody, you know how your knees is set up. Like, don't do that. So move at your own pace. Even if you are trying to make that lifestyle change, still move at your own pace. And also when it comes to like the diet and the food, like, be realistic with yourself. Like, just be realistic. I love how Sherry said today, like, give yourself grace and just do what works for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to do all these crazy diets and stuff like that. Like, do what works. When you start to see results, you know what's gonna work for you. So yeah.
And know that consistency looks different from everybody.
Yeah.
Consistency For someone else, maybe 6 days a week, meal prepping every
Yep.
Sunday, and you don't eat your cheat meal until Saturday or Sunday. But consistency for somebody else can be you work out 3 days a week, you don't
Yep.
meal prep, it's fine. But you choose to eat better,
Right.
wiser than you did before. So you're absolutely correct. Like it just looked different for all of us. And you can't compare your journey to somebody else's journey because the knees are not the same as they were when I was 30 in the gym running with Mr. Brooks. So I can acknowledge that
Right.
there's some age that done caught up with me. So I can't quite do what I was doing before. But no, I love that you shared that because that is important. That's important when it
Yeah,
comes to self-love.
it is.
Lisa, so we talked about your business platforms, but where can people find you?
Okay, you can find me on YouTube. That's where I post like most of my content. I'm most active. It's Lisa Smilez with the Z at the end. I'm also on Instagram, and that's Lisa Smilez as well. And I have a TikTok, but it's Lisa Smilez as well with I think with the number 7. Yeah. And where else I'm on? Facebook. Yeah, I'm
You
on
got a
all the.
podcast?
What'd you say?
Do you have a podcast?
Oh, I do have a podcast. I forgot about. See, it's a lot of stuff. And I actually recorded another podcast episode the other night I need to post. So my podcast is anywhere you can stream a podcast. It's called The Thoughts of Lisa Smilez. So yeah, you can find that. And is there anything else I'm doing? Yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, I think that's all the platforms.
Okay. And I will just want to drop this about Lisa. So Lisa's on YouTube, and Lisa is not too far from your watch hours. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I'm not too far. That's a working process. I'm this close. I'm this
Okay.
close.
So for anybody who watches and listens to this podcast, Lisa has some really great videos, especially for hair. I don't have no hair, and I still be tuned in. Okay. So if you would like to learn about hair care growth and how to take care of your hair, and then there's also some other life topics, let's help Lisa get to her watch hours so she can start monetizing, and she'll have additional stream of income to leave a legacy for the next
Yeah,
generation.
yes.
So, Lisa, thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. It was a pleasure and it was a kiki. So, thank you.
And thank you, Coach Jessica, for having me. It was definitely fun. Thank you for inviting me. So yeah, I gotta come back so we can talk about this corporate switch to entrepreneurship. Yeah.
I am. So, I'm going to hold you to it. But thank you.
Thank you. Bye.